football fan, have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another episode of Whistle Talk. Mike D, the referee, joining you here from a nice, cold, wintry New Jersey. Once again, being joined by my buddy Daniel Chamberlain down in Oklahoma. Daniel, what's happening, my man?
It's another weirdly warm day here in Oklahoma. So,
yeah, well, we're not having that here in New Jersey. So temperatures right now are in the teens again.
Send me some cold, brother.
So
it's almost
we still
Christmas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got a lot of snow and that white powdery stuff all over the ground from earlier this week, and it's wintertime, so it's the Northeast. We get used to it. Yeah. So before we dive in with, I've got a couple of very esteemed guests with us tonight. Give my quick little spiel, ladies and gents. This is actually going to be the last episode of the new year. I'm going to take a little week off before the new year. So if you are enjoying the show and you want to know when we're coming back at you, please hit those like, subscribe buttons, all those fun things, those free things that we got out there for you. Give us a comment, give us a shout. You can hit me up on my email, mikethereferee@gmail.com. And if you want to help show some support, you can always buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Mike D the referee. Buy me a coffee, buy me a beer, buy me a bourbon. I don't know. It's been a lot of coffee lately to stay warm, but I'm not going to lie. I'm going a little Miller Lite tonight. So have a little cocktail. Cheers to all. And before we even dive in more, as you can see, I've got this funny little elf hat on. I got to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a Happy Hanukkah for all that are celebrating out there. We are in the full flow of the holiday season here in my household. The Christmas decorations are all over the place, but my son stole my Giants Santa hat, and I'm quite grateful for that right now with watching the way they've been going. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year to all. So be safe as we roll into the new year. So with that being said, tonight we're going to kind of dive into something that I know my coaching fans out there can kind of relate to, but it's something that is new to me in the last couple of years and stuff that we've talked about. But the football clinics, we're going to be rolling into clinic season. We're hitting at college level a lot of playoffs and stuff like that, getting close to semifinals. And I know this weekend, well, Daniel, you got a big game that you're looking for on Friday, I'm assuming for, right?
Boomer, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Taking down Bama for the third time in 13 months.
So with me tonight, I've got Mr. Scott Aronowitz and Andrew McGrath joining me from Florida. Gents, how are you guys?
Good evening. Thanks, Mike.
Doing great. Thank you.
And also joining me once again is Mr. Jim Corpora, coming us from the Pennsylvania area. Jim, how are you doing tonight?
Like you said earlier, Mike, it's chilly, but it is wintertime. Good evening, everybody. And Mike, thanks for this very kind invite.
Absolutely. So the reason that I reached out to these three gentlemen, well, actually, Scott reached out to Andrew for me, being his partner, so I appreciate that. But Jim, Scott, and Andrew run two really, really great officiating clinics that I know a lot of people across our area. I've attended Jim's clinic up in for the Centennial Conference and Landmark Conference. Scott and Andrew are working down in the Florida Gulf Coast area. So, Jim, I'll pass it to you. Why don't you give us a little background on yourself and about the clinic that you have going?
Well, so I've been a long time lover of the avocation of officiating. Been a college football official, was a college football official for a long time, retired after 21 years in ACC at the end of the 2021 season, but have been running with two other guys a clinic that we do each spring since 2004. That was our first one, and we've done it every year since. We really try to pride ourselves on educating and teaching. I'm a firm believer, absolutely certain, that most officiating groups are not viewed in the sense that of officiating development, enhancing education. I've seen this, frankly, all over the country, certainly at the high school and in many cases the small college level. Um, uh, you initially, a little bit ago, Mike mentioned the Centennial Landmark Conferences. On October 1st of this year, like 2 months ago, I assumed a new job that the NCAA hired me for. So since October 1st, I've been the NCAA National Coordinator for Division III football officiating. And we have two semifinals coming up this Saturday. One's at a school called North Central in Naperville, Illinois, and one is at a school called University of Wisconsin River Falls, which is in River Falls, Wisconsin. And then the Stag Bowl will culminate the Division III season on Sunday night, January 4th in Canton, Ohio. I've been to 4 games each round so far. I'm not going to Chicago this week, and I'm not going to River Falls primarily because last week it was minus 13 and minus 19 at those 2 locations respectively. And there was absolutely no way, just even thinking about getting on a plane and getting off of a plane when it's sub-zero and sitting in a press box that may or may not be heated. I wasn't about to chance that. So both games are on TV, and I'll certainly be watching them. But so that's a little bit of background. And the clinic that we'll talk about, as I said, we started in 2004, and we've done it every year since, including the year of COVID. We actually finished the clinic on Saturday, and everything shut down that Monday. So we just got kind of fortunate or lucky. But yeah, we had guest speakers, including Jerry Markbright, including the late, great Dave Parry, including the late, great Carl Paganelli. We've had Steve Shaw. We've had Bill Carollo. We've had, NFL and or major college folks from all over the country. And we're already in the planning stages for our clinic this coming spring, which is February 27th and 28th at a nice warm hotel in West Allentown, Pennsylvania. So once folks get there, it's all good.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the job advancement. I didn't know that, so that's awesome to hear. That's great stuff. And this, for those that aren't familiar with the Stag Bowl is our Division III national championship game. So when I was coaching Division III football, it was always a goal of ours to get there. And Jim and I were talking pre-production. I remember it always being in Norfolk, Virginia. But he just informed me that for the past good number of years, it's now rotated around in different locations. So this year being in Canton, Ohio. So get a chance, get out to the Stag Bowl, and then you can pop right over to the NFL Hall of Fame. That's right there, literally across the street from the stadium.
Yes, it is.
So, Jim, you were talking about a nice, warm hotel. So my next guests that I got to introduce are from a nice, warm state down in Florida. Scott, Andrew, how you guys doing?
Great, Mike. How are you?
Cold.
We're staying warm down here.
In all fairness, it's 57 where I am. So,
boo hoo.
It's low 70s where I'm at, so it's really cold.
Goodness.
you talk about the Stag Bowl. I had the honor before we get started 2 years ago. I was the replay official in the 2023 title game. One of Jim's crews from the Centennial worked the game. One of the best football games I've ever been a part of. Jim was sitting right there with us in the booth, and it was a great honor to do that.
38-37, if I recall.
Yeah, terrific game.
Terrific
game.
Mike, I got nothing. I just stayed at a hotel in Canton one time, and that's it. So
there you go. I've been to the NFL Hall of Fame, so it's a cool area. I got to say, though, it's I don't mean to insult anybody from that area. We went there after a Notre Dame game, driving back home, my wife and I, and it was wintertime. And there was nothing going on because they didn't have the college games. The high school season had ended. And I know I'm looking to hopefully get back out there for a Hall of Fame induction when Eli gets nominated from the New York Giants. He's already nominated. But when he gets finally voted in, I'm looking to try to get out there. But it's a fun little city, but it revolves around football, which is always a good thing in my opinion.
Nothing wrong with that.
So Scott, Andrew, why don't you give the viewers, listeners a little background on where you guys are coming from, and then talk about your clinic.
Well, we pretty much have the exact same bios. We started on the field in the Sun Conference, which is an NAIA conference, up until 2019, at which point during our camp that spring, Bill Carollo, who was the Big Ten coordinator, came down, and he was looking, to be a guest. And he pulled us aside and said he was looking to organize a youth movement in the replay booth. Whereas in years past, you'd work your 20, 25, 30 years on the field, go up to the booth. He said he didn't want that. He wanted new blood. He offered us positions as supplemental or developmental replay officials, which we took. And as they say in Seinfeld, yada, 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 we've now year 2 in the Big Ten as replay officials. Both of us have upcoming bowl games. So we've been very blessed to be on this path. Being on the field is great. We both embraced replay greatly. It's certainly a different aspect of the game, but extremely important. I know we both. I speak for Andrew, saying we both love it, and we're both looking forward to prolong our careers. As far as the camp goes, I'll defer to Andrew about our camp.
Yeah, so I moved to Florida in 2012. Prior to that, I worked in ECAC. I worked some D3 bowl and some D2 bowl up in the Mid-Atlantic area. I knew Jimmy from back in the day. Great mentor, great coach when it came to a deep wing position, which is where I was on the field. Came down to Florida in 2012, met Scott. Scott and I were on cruise together. And then one thing we saw that was lacking in Florida was there wasn't a good grassroots more of a introductory to college football or an advanced high school official type camp. And Scott and I, we got to talking. And while there's a lot of play into it, we opened up our first camp in 2016, learned a lot that first year of what works, what doesn't work, and where to and not to spend money. The first year was a success. We had probably about 40 to 50 officials that first year. And since then, we've grown to, I think we had about 130 last year at camp. This will be our 10th camp. We have ours in March. Each year since that first year, we've sold out every position or every slot that we have for registration. But one of the big things we push with our camp is that it's all about being cost effective. And Jim can, kind of test this better than Scott and I can together, is that back in the day, officiating was all about giving back. It was all about the people who came before you would take the time. They would train you. They would teach you. They would really dedicate a lot to the craft of officiating. And that's always been a goal of Scott's and I's every year is what is our break even point? We know we're only going to have 80 on-field officials. That's where it caps at every year. And now with the introduction of replay, we've had replay 4 or 5 of the past years. And it's been great. And we only allow 50 in for replay. So at 130 officials, we try and keep it as low cost as possible. It's not about making money. It's about giving back, because we know that, and Jim, Scott, we all know that one day we're not going to be on the field or we're not going to be in the booth anymore. And we need really great officials that can replace us. And that's the goal of camp. So this is year 10, and it's been a great ride so far. And we really enjoy and appreciate all that we've been able to give, but also all that we've learned from all the great clinicians and supervisors that we've had as a part of it, to include, as Jim even noted, Carl Paganelli Sr. was our first special guest. He and Marion. It was a wonderful first season, and have a special guest like them.
Nice. So I want to dive into a little bit because I've attended Jim's clinic this past year, and I'm looking forward to it this coming season. But I haven't been to down in Florida. But I know that you guys run it a little bit differently. So I want to kind of talk about a little bit of the differences there. But Daniel, I know you have a clinic too that on the coaching side, and this is the one that I was originally familiar with. I started coaching college football at Montclair when I was 21 years old. So there was at the time, there was a good number of clinics that were going on in the North Jersey, New York area. We used to travel down to Baltimore and stuff like that. So I'm very familiar, or I should say more familiar with the coaching clinics than I am the officiating clinics, ironically. And I know, Daniel, you guys have one coming up too. So why don't you give a little shout to that one?
Yeah, absolutely. We on the coaching side, I feel like clinics have gone from where they were a lot smaller back in the day, and then things like Glacier, and I have been introduced like through multiple arms of networking to the group that's still carrying on those Glacier clinics, and that was started small and started with a good purpose and get coaches in and educate coaches, and it's just gotten so large. You got Glacier, Nike, all these, but it's gotten to the point where guys go there and you have to like tell them, take one thing, right? You spend hundreds of dollars and get there. And I'm not saying anything really bad about the clinic, but they're just so vast that it's hard to go in and get a specific education on a thing. And so what we've done, first I've worked with Kenny Simpson the last 3 years or so, putting on his gun tea clinics, which, as you can imagine, he's really going into depth about his offense. And so this year we're basically copycatting him, me and Joe Daniel, and we're doing the Joe Daniel football 4-5 clinic. Weirdly enough, they both end up on the same weekend in Boston. So it sounds like we're all going to get together afterward, but we're just trying to give coaches a place to come and learn from, top to bottom, side to side, everything there is to know about one defense. And so it's like a coach who's new. But you talked about being at 21 years old, you were jumping into, college football coaching. I'm sure you picked up a bunch that first year, and most coaches do, but we want to accelerate. It's why we do the podcast. It's why we do everything we do in coaching. We want to accelerate coaches' knowledge and their education and that learning curve. We want to shrink that learning curve for as many coaches as possible. But they're a more, I guess, knowledgeable, a more useful coach to the program, to whoever's program they're in, right? We want more coaches. We want better coaches on the field all the time, because it takes one bad coach to ruin a kid, and then no one gets to coach him. So if you're educating them all, you get to kind of move those kids along, and more players is better for the whole sport. So we will have the Joe Daniel football 4-5 defensive clinic in Boston coming up March 13th and 14th of 2026. The website is in the process being created, but keep an eye out for it. I'm sure you can find it on Google. Stay with me on the Twitter or on the podcast, the football coaching podcast, where me and Joe talk ball once a week. But yeah, it's kind of just like what you guys all said, right? It was a need. It's a need out there to get somebody a more specific education. And so that's what we're just trying to fill that void a little bit.
Yeah. And for me, going to my first couple clinics, because now here in New Jersey, we are now hosting an overall state clinic that I think we're going to be going into our 4th or 5th year, if I remember correctly. It's a great place, even just, and I'm going to say networking, but not necessarily networking, but just talking football. And that's one thing that I always picked up with going to the coaches clinics, is it wasn't necessarily sitting in the actual clinicians at the time, but it was the after time where you could just sit down and possibly get one-on-one with either the clinician or just some other person from around the country and talk football. And this past year, going to Jim's clinic, I spent the night. The New Jersey clinic is a one-day clinic, but Jim's clinic in Pennsylvania had the nice warm hotel, as you mentioned before. And we all got together, sat down, had some dinner, had a couple of drinks in the lounge area. And we were just talking about officiating and talking about different things that we saw. And it went into a lot of different tangents. You were hitting mechanics, and then we're talking family. I mean, so it was all over the place. But that's where I always felt I grasped the most at these clinics, is just being able to sit down and just personally talk with people. Now I'm that person at a clinic that I'm asking questions. I'm going there and I'm going to try to be a sponge as much as I can. So I'm that guy that's going to sit as close to the front row as possible and ask questions. And joking around, my first year at going to those clinics was when Tennessee won the national championship, and Phil Fulmer was one of the clinicians. And I was asking him a question on being a former offensive lineman about how they were running their zone. And well, he pulled me up, and next thing you know, he's got his hands in my face, and he's showing me his hand placement in zone, and got this big national championship ring right up in my face. I'm like, that's nice, Phil. Thank you. But it's little things like that that I like to gain from it. So Jim, Scott, Andrew, what are some of the advantages that you guys have noticed over the years with clinics? And Jim, I'm going to kind of defer to you. You've been doing it for over 20 years now with the clinics. Like, what are some of the goals that you're looking for people to gain from it?
Well, certainly in a general sense, again, education, enhancing an official's development. What we've done, and I think Andrew had mentioned it, anytime you run something like this, I think it's like Abraham Lincoln, President Lincoln often said, you can learn a lot by just paying attention to people, and you can learn a lot of what not to do by paying attention to people. And I think we could probably all relate to that. But one of the things we've stressed from the beginning, really two things I think are probably the transcending concepts in our clinics. One, we always have segments on situational awareness. Anybody can call holding, anybody can call DPI, whatever. We'll debate that forever. But situational awareness, okay, clock status, how many timeouts does the team have? What score? Just last Saturday, 4 days ago, I'm at an NCAA Division III national quarterfinal game, and we're in the second period of, at the time, a very tight 7-3 game. The guy, running back, gets a handoff. He goes left. He reverses his field all the way to the right, and eventually runs out of bounds with 2 minutes and 48 seconds to go in the second period. And of course, in college football, we're north of 2. We're going to wind the clock. Nobody wound the clock. So at halftime, I went in and I said some things that's unacceptable. That is absolute. And I have a phrase called, as an official, you got to know what's going on when it's going on. And that's every guy on the field or every girl on the field, whatever the scenario is. And then in the fourth quarter, the game had become a blowout by that time. But in the fourth quarter, we had a simple delay of game out of punt formation. And in college, that's automatically on a snap, but the referee wound the clock. And when I went in after the game, I said, now, the back judge, you called it. Did you know the rule? Well, I thought, but don't be thinking. You got to be knowing. Don't be thinking. You got to be knowing. And those are the things that I feel need to be emphasized and stressed at clinics, because the game is all about situational awareness. Mm-hmm. Coach, I've never had the privilege of meeting you or even on a Zoom, but how many times and in practice, a football practice, does a team run a 2-minute offense? Or 3rd and 6, we're down by 2 with 1:18 to go and one timeout. That's what the game is. That's what it is. It's not, this is holding, we got a million different things. That's not what it's about. People don't understand that. Officiating and coaching football, it's about situational awareness and game management. And that is one of the things we absolutely place a premium on. We don't ever want a guy leaving or a girl leaving our clinic without at least understanding how critical that is. And one of the things I found, I go to look every spring in person at Division II schools to look at officials that have applied to us. And that's good. You get an idea. And quite honestly, if you know what you're doing, in 10, 12 plays, you know if a guy can do it or not. But the thing that's always missing is the clock. Very, very few spring scrimmages have a game clock or a play clock. And yet that is the essence of game. How many games go to the wire? How many games are 4-quarter games? Those kind of things. So the one thing we really try to stress is situational awareness / game management. And the other thing we try to stress is that if you're not learning and growing, it's like John Wooden said, if you're through learning, you're through altogether. You might as well just quit the avocation, leave it to somebody else that might care more. And so those two things are paramount to us in our approach to having a clinic each spring.
Jim, I remember from the clinic in the spring, you had mentioned that there are two vital things that somebody once taught you that we have to know as officials. What are those two vital things?
Well, you might be referring to, and Coach Chamberlain, you might find this interesting. I've attended, I think, 6 or 7 coaching clinics in my life. I used to be an athletic director, and when our football coach, one guy, I went with him, and I learned a lot, like about how to reach block, or like on a wishbone thing, like a how you have like a load block. And he said, I mean, these were things that fascinated me, and it definitely helped me as an official. But I think what Mike is talking about, I went to a clinic one time in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania, and Bill Parcells had just retired, but he apparently he had agreed to this clinic, whatever. And he walked into the room, and everybody kind of fell silent. He didn't have to say, nobody had to introduce him. He just walked in, and everybody just kind of shut up, like, "Ooh," like this. And he said, "How many of you all want to learn about football?" And of course, everybody raised their hand, and that includes me. And he said, "All right." And he was a little bit profane. He said, "The first goddamn thing you need to understand is there's 2 things that determine every single thing in every football game: the time and the score. Every play call, every coaching strat, every single thing gets back to the time and the score." So I think, Mike, that might be what you're alluding to.
Yep.
And I sat there, I took notes. I still have my notes from that clinic. And I thought, and you think about the game, I don't care if it's the first quarter, the team makes a touchdown in the first quarter, they miss the extra point at 6-0. And they fall behind 14-6. If they score a touchdown in the second quarter, they might still go for 1. But if that's in the late fourth quarter, obviously they're going to go for 2. The time and score dictate everything. And Coach Parcells coached people like Bill Belichick, Nick Saban. He has a long tree of people that learn from him, the time and the score. So, Mike, I think that might be what you're referencing. So.
No, 100%. And that falls definitely on our shoulders, too, as officials, of knowing the time and the score, because
Absolutely.
Having a grasp of what's going on in the game.
Yep.
And knowing what the situations are, it's going to make us be a little bit more hyper vigilant to some specifics that we're going to need to know. Are we going to have a 2-minute drill? Or is the team losing? Is the team looking to wind the clock? Are they looking to try to stay in bounds to keep the clock going? All those little things, and understanding what they're probably trying to do, not thinking like a coach, but at least understanding the situation, I think helps us become better officials too. And that was one of the big things that I took, Jim, from your clinic, and me growing up being a diehard Giant fan, and going and sitting in 10-degree weather this past weekend with my son at the Giants game. God have mercy on their souls right now. But I read a number of Bill Parcells' books, and he was who I modeled my coaching career after. I'm an old school power type of football coach when I was coaching. So that was where I learned it from. But yeah, that one definitely stuck with me. And again, working the games this past year, working a couple of our playoff games, it's something that I always kind of remind my crew about. And Jim, you were mentioning in a couple of situations, my white hat always yells at us, save the crew. If there's something going on, something that I'm doing wrong, let me know. So you brought up the situation with stopping the clock or winding the clock. Well, there's got to be somebody on the crew that should be saying, hey, we got to run it here, or hey, we got to stop it here. So those crew saver type of scenarios is another thing that I was able to pick up.
If I may, Mike, I'll give everybody a perfect illustration. This happened in round 2, which was November 29th, so less than a month ago. We have 16 games throughout the country in Division III. I physically attend a game. It's a very good game. It's a 4-point game with less than 2 minutes to go in the game. And the team that's losing by 4 has the ball. They begin a drive. They keep driving, make a first down, move the sticks, etc. They call their last time out with 28 seconds remaining after the quarterback got sacked. So they have a 3rd and 12. And Andrew and Scott, and I'm sure this is so upsetting to me what happened. It's 3rd and 12. The team's at the plus 31. So the line to gain is like just the 19-yard line. Okay? 3rd and 12. No timeouts left. 28 seconds. I'm up in the press box. The kid goes back to pass. He avoids a rush. He scrambles a little. He goes up and he throws a real nice pass, which is caught exactly at the 10-yard line, exactly at a hash mark. Kid catches it and intentionally goes down, knowing it's a first down. Okay? No one stopped the clock. Okay? Now,
Yeah.
it gets way better than that, or worse. So the clock operator is within 5 feet of where I'm at. And he looks at me, he goes, what do I do? Because we always tell clock operators, go with what the folks on the field do. Nobody stops the clock. At the same time this is going on, the referee, the clock's behind him. He comes running down the field. He winds the clock, which is already going. Okay, right? Now, here, the back judge now comes sprinting in. They all kind of huddle up. And the clock had stopped at 6 seconds, which is clearly wrong. Eventually, the referee gets on the microphone and announces, will the game clock operator please reset the clock to 17 seconds? I later went back when I got home, and it should have been 20 or 21, but that's okay. But here's the deal. Here's what he didn't do. He never went to the quarterback and said, hey, you guys got to be ready. The clock's going to start on my whistle.
Yep.
And he never announced that to anyone. He just said, the only announcement was, please reset the clock to 17 seconds. There was nothing further than that. So now he pumps it in, and the team is like scrambling. So they quickly get on the ball. The kid goes, and he throws an interception. And the game effectively ends with 4 seconds to go. They take an in. So,
and in that situation, they probably would have spiked the ball to kill the clock, knowing that
absolutely.
First down.
Okay, I go in the locker room after the game and say, guys, you could have had the greatest game in history. Doesn't matter. You can't screw up the end of the game with the clock. You can't do it. And being whatever, I call the supervisors of the crews after each game and tell them what I looked at and stuff like that. I said, you guys did a really good job for about 59 minutes and a half, 59, okay? But they will not go on in the tournament. I explained what happened. He goes, for one play, you're goddamn right. When you screw up like that, you cost the team an opportunity to win and go on. So you're right. They're done. Well, I think that's a little harsh. Okay, think whatever you want. I've made the decision, and that's the end of it. The point I'm making is this was a completely avoidable mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Never had to happen. And in my view, there's omission and commission errors. But we do something like that, you literally, I don't want to say cheat, but you take away the opportunity of that team. And, of course, we have a Sunday call with the NCAA committee, and the school had called, the AD, the coach, and now I have to sit there on Zoom and explain. And the question, well, Jim, how could they not have done that, Jim?
You
the big picture
for them.
Well, the big picture of officiating is we have to be accountable, and people don't want to be, or they're reluctant to be. Well, I said to the supervisor, why don't you call the coach, and maybe his players will be there. You can tell them it's no big deal. It's only one play, but your season's over.
Daniel, how would you guys take that?
We would we'd have some fiery words as well there, Jim.
I would hope so, Coach. Deservedly so.
We're big extreme ownership down here, so we'd be pissed that we didn't tell our quarterback we're spiking this, because it's still the coach's fault. It's still the quarterback's fault for now going, hey, coach, we just got a first down. We have to spike it. But at the end of the day, it's a full failure on multiple parts.
No question. And
me being an umpire, I'm in the center's ear. I'm like, hey, and scenarios like that, I'm like, guys, we're winding on the whistle, we're winding on the ready for play. So I'm letting the center know from the umpire perspective, being in the defensive side, because I'm face to face with them, and I've had that pregame conference with the center, so they know that I'm going to communicate with them. So I'm communicating with my white hat. Hey, on your whistle, we're winding, or telling the kids sometimes they're rushing. I'm like, hey guys, it's an incomplete pass. You got time. You don't have to rush. Take your time. You can huddle. Like you got a minute here. Well, not a minute, but you have a couple seconds here. But,
so, Mike, I do have questions, and I've asked you before on the podcast when it's just you and I want to ask with the guys in the room now. I've always asked about just the officials' ability to correct themselves. Right? You've said now you have people in the box. You've got all these people that could have stopped the clock. Jim, you said you were sitting there Like, at what point are we getting on a mass huddle over you got your O to O, or you got your guy in the box, and going, we are screwing up. We stopped the game on live television to fix it. Let's fix it. Right. So how deep do you guys go? I am an extreme ownership guy. So, like, at some point, someone has to put in this foolproof system or something similar, right, to make those corrections on game night. So we're not making apologies the next day to a team that's now eliminated because of our mistake.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they didn't have. I don't believe, Jim. They had the luxury of replay. Nonetheless, each official on the field is responsible for a certain aspect of the game, and certainly the clock is one of them. So somebody's got to be looking at the clock. But we always want to get it right. Right. The whole point is preparation and game awareness, like Jimmy was saying, and we want to get it right. And we have the luxury of replay in certain circumstances and things like that, especially in the last 2 minutes. Just about everything is either reviewable or something that we could help with, right? So certainly we know for sure when that ball became dead, when it became a first down, and if they're not getting it, we can come in and say, hey guys, let's reset the clock to 20 or whatever it was. We'll go on your whistle, things like that. We'll talk the crew, because with the big crowds and on the field and in the heat of the moment, things get up here, and in the booth, it's a little quieter. We can think to ourselves a little and be that kind of calming voice that comes down and say, hey guys, this is what we're going to do, and everybody benefits from it, hopefully. But we're all trained at every level. The frustrating thing for me, like Jim was saying, I do evaluations for one of the high school associations here in Florida, and the clock and ball placement, all that stuff, they repeat themselves. But you have to drill it in at the lowest levels. My son is 18; he officiates, and he knows he's looking at the clock, just about all the time, because it's ingrained in them. We just have to. It has to be ingrained from early in your career to know the clock, to know the situations. Because, like I say, anyone could call holding, anyone could call pit. That's the easy stuff, right? It's when it comes down to knowing the clock situation, knowing what a team might do or might not do, things like that. Those are things that we have to teach. And in our camp, talked about telling the quarterback, hey, we're going on my ready. Because Andrew and I at our camp, we walk around, we're the directors, we defer to our wonderful clinicians. And I've been in the referee room where they've gone over these situations. And I've heard people like Ken Williamson say, hey, clock stop, we're going on the ready. If you're going to do something, be ready. So, learning from those kind of people is quite an advantage.
And and to piggyback on that, I think, we talk about controlling the things that you can control as an official, and Scott and I, we're notorious for this. Even during the season, especially, he and I will probably spend easily 10 to 20 hours a week on the phone talking about plays, talking about situations, talking about, hey, what do you think of this rule? What do they mean by this? Do they mean specifically this, or what's the philosophy of this? Do we have what the expectation is? Maybe the COC or the Big Ten wants this. The ACC looks at it like this, but the SEC looks at it like that. Let's make sure we know what we're doing. But those mental and virtual reps that we're getting during the week, and the same thing Scott and I say to our boys, because both our boys play football. I think yours is 15. Is that right? Justin's 15? Mm-hmm. And my son's 16 right now. I tell my kid, look, the harder you practice all week long, the easier your game is on Friday. And the same is for officials. If you put the time in when you get to the game, you don't sweat. You don't sit there and you don't second think what you're about to do. It becomes reflexive. And for the guys on the field, I had a great mentor who told me this back in 2006. He said, knowing rules is great. But he said, if mechanically you can't be in the right place at the right time, I don't care what rule you know, you're never going to sell it to a coach that you got it right. But if you're in the right place at the right time, you can have the worst call in the world, and no coach will be able to argue with you because you're right where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
I'm not saying don't know the rules, but man, be athletic, get to where you need to be on the field, go out to a field during the week, move up and down a field, sideline or otherwise, and know where you need to be and how that feels every single play in every single instance. And come time Friday night or Saturday, you're going to move where you need to be, and you're not going to think about what to do. You're just your body's going to respond and react, and that's a huge part to this. The dead ball time will make you the best official, but if you wait till Friday or Saturday, you're just going to be good at best.
So Scott and Andrew, I know with your clinic, you guys do some on the field type of stuff with the officials. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct. We actually we do it at a Division II school in the SIAC, Edward Waters University, and they scrimmage Friday and Saturday. So our on-field attendees get a number of snaps, and it's an intimate setting. It's one field. And they do all situations. They do goal line. They do 2 minutes drill and all that stuff. And our ratio is about three clinicians?
Like 2 to 1, 3 to 1 for attendees to clinicians. So we try to keep it.
Yeah, they always 2 to 3 have someone in their ear, a clinician in their ear, talking about what just happened on the field and what's happening on the field in real time, which is invaluable in my opinion.
And even more.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I would say when they have that scrimmage on Friday, one thing that we like to do is the clinicians take, they take notes. They'll provide a lot of feedback when the official comes off the field. If the official is going to go back out on the field, but what's even more important, and Jim, you know this. Again, I defer to you, Jim, just because you're a great brain when it comes to a lot of this. Is that we're giving the officials the tweaks, what you need to do. How coachable are you? Because Saturday when you come back and you work that next scrimmage, did you apply what you heard? If you didn't apply and you're still making excuses, then we know where you're currently at. But if you're applying what you're hearing and you're making those adjustments and you're asking those next level questions, that shows us that there's potential and that you're growing and you want to be there. And it's not just you. And I share this story. Jim, you know Tyrone Anderson well. Tyrone was one of my mentors as a field judge, side judge, and I was at a clinic and I was fit and young and running in after every play. The play was over. I'd run in as fast as I could, stop, look side to side, give the down whatever it was, second, third, whatever, and then back out 100 miles an hour and get to the sideline. And Tyrone looks at me and goes, "Andrew, you need to slow down." And I'm thinking in my head, you know what? You're old and you're worried that I'm going to take your spot because I look so much better on the field. And then I saw myself on film, and it looked like there was a fire in the middle of the field and on the sideline. And I just kept running back and forth to. And he was 100% right. We're not there because we're trying to nitpick. We want you to be better than us. Take my job from me because I am working as hard as I am, but I'm trying to empower you to learn everything I have and elevate you to be even better.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. And just Jim mentioned it earlier too. When you think you know everything, you don't know anything at all. I think that's a John Wooden quote there. But it's the same thing. And I love, Andrew, that you said be coachable, because I talk with Daniel on a weekly basis from the coaching perspective, and it's something that we don't think of as an official. Be coachable, be open-minded, and be able to take criticism. Like, I joke around with Daniel. How many times has an official ever looked at you and say, "Oh, coach, that call sucked. What are you calling there?" But we get that a lot as officials. That call is terrible. But okay, maybe they're right. Maybe that call was terrible. And how can I get that out of my system? Understand? All right, I made a mistake there, and let me not repeat that same mistake over and over again. So, Daniel, you're chuckling.
I can't imagine a ref just going to be like, inside zone on 3rd and 18, coach? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't even know what that means.
They only rushed 3 guys, coach, so, it might have worked. There you go.
No, we have some conversations in the middle of the field, especially on some timeouts of, why the heck did they just call a timeout there? What are they thinking? Like, oh, okay, we'll honor it.
And actually, going back to our point earlier about the screwed up time clock, and how many mistakes have coaches made in their lives, right? Like, we're not perfect either. We need we need a guy in our ear. We need a guy in the booth telling us, like, here's your timeout, use it or don't let the time run, whatever, right? That's kind of what my question was, like, do y'all have that little man in your ear going, Coach, you didn't do the thing. Like, we can't script the thing here. You screwed up the thing.
Well, and we had an issue with a clock earlier this year, and and even when we're outside of 2 minutes, replay, it's not for us to get involved with. However, if on my crew, if the clock's running and I know it shouldn't be running, all I do is I buzz down to the field and I get in the area and I say, hey guys, why is the clock running? And that's all I say. And if they go, well, dang, the clock isn't supposed to be running, and then they stop it, then I'll go ahead and be the little bug in your ear just as a reminder, hey, 7:21. And that's all I'll say. It's not official. It's just giving them, if you want something, I'm giving you something you can use. But if I say, why is the clock running? There may be a very good reason why the clock is running, that maybe there's something even I missed from up high. So it's checks and balances, and goes both ways. Because even, Scott knows, even from above, as good as we are, sometimes there's something that happens on the field that is part of the inner discussion. It doesn't go over the O2O and isn't part of some mechanic or signal that we're not aware of, but everything's going just fine down there. We just didn't know what had happened.
And that's the flow of the game, and understanding the situations with the officials going with how the game is rolling and different things like that, where sometimes the press box, be it coaches or other officials, don't see it the way that the people on the field are seeing it and feeling it. It's kind of a feel at times too. And Daniel, you can probably attest to that with some calls, like just had a feeling they were doing something. I had a gut feeling that, okay, that one's going to work, and dang it, it worked. Or dang it didn't. But you have to have that gut feeling and kind of feel the flow of the game and understand the situation of the game. So going back now clinic wise, how are you guys utilizing the different technology now? Scott, Andrew, you guys are highly involved in the technology, being the replay officials, but how are you then utilizing that with the clinic stuff? Are you doing some film work and showing some different plays, or are you guys strictly on the field with it? Jim, I know at your clinic, we started off with a number of different plays, both positive and negative, the good and the bad, for us to learn from or to model from. But is that something that's going on across all clinics and stuff like that, the use of technology in the film sessions?
Well, we've experimented quite a bit in our camp, from putting GoPros on the officials to having the use of drones and stuff. If we're lucky, the school will provide film from the scrimmage. That doesn't always happen, but our clinicians bring their own plays with them from either from their own library or from the national library. So each clinician will bring in, here's formations, here's pass interference, here's intentional grounding, roughing the passer, whatever it is. So they'll in the breakout sessions per position, they'll utilize that. But we've done a lot of different things on the field with regard to film. Andrew might still have a bunch of GoPros in his garage.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I still have them. Yeah, we used to strap them to officials' heads, because what was great is if you put a GoPro in an official's head, whichever way they turn their head, you know what they're looking at. Yep. And officials, the clinicians would have the app on their phone, and they could look on their phone and say, why in the heck is he looking up at the football when it's a pass? And his key right now is getting absolutely hook and turned down the field. Why is he looking at the ball? The ball has not caused a foul ever in the history of football.
Never.
No, but the use of the technology, it's even the technology has, and I don't know, maybe COVID helped accelerate this a little bit too, with virtual pre-games and everything's for the crews in football. But even our clinicians now, so we've had our website up, and we've been registering since April of this year for the March camp. So as soon as the last one was over, we just restarted and got it going again. And what we do is we get our clinicians to reach out to the attendees even before they get to camp and say, here's our expectation. Here's some film you can take a look at. Here's what we're going to be looking at. Here's how we would like you to, here's the mechanic we'd like you to use. So when they get there, they already have a good working knowledge of what the expectation is. It's no surprises, because again, like I was saying before, whether it's SEC, ACC, AAC, Big Ten, wherever you're coming from, everybody's a little bit different with what they do. But when you get to our camp, or if you get to Jimmy's camp, or you get to even Daniel's, when it comes to coaching, where coaches should be standing and not in the dang white, so they run into an official half the time. Yeah, no, that's Daniel. I can already tell. Yeah, no,
Only twice. Okay, it's been 6 years. It's happened twice.
we want these guys to be on the same age. Again, it's all about setting them up for success, and that's been a great part. Like I said, when we start with GoPro, all the way to we have other fellow camps and clinicians that we've learned from where they use they use an app on Google. We're using Google Sheets where they can evaluate officials on the fly, and it automatically populates in the Google Sheets so that official gets live, real evaluations, and it can be from any clinician and supervisor at any time, and they get a lot of great feedback. And it's getting away from the paper and pencil, and I think it's going a long way to help everybody.
No, that's good stuff, and I'm a huge proponent of the drones. I've tried to reach out to some of the high school games that I've done and ask them for their drone copy if they have a drone there, because I like to see my positioning, my mechanics, and you can kind of tell from the drone where my head was looking, if I'm following the ball, and different things like that, and it gives me another aspect. I'm a huddle nerd. I love going on huddle and watching the film and watching myself. But then if I can get that drone view, especially me being the umpire, and I can focus on what's going on and reevaluate my keys from truly the eye in the sky, I think that helps out a ton. Technology, the drone stuff, as an official, I love that. And I don't think there's a better teaching tool for a player, a coach, or an official than that drone perspective, because it's giving you literally right above and setting up your mechanics, setting up your positioning. And like you guys talked about before with the mechanics, just being in the right spot, it helps you 9 times out of 10 to make that correct call, or did you miss that call? And that I think mechanics is even more important personally than knowing the rules, because I can know every single rule. I can have this rule book memorized front to back, but if I'm not looking where I'm supposed to be looking, it doesn't matter what I know. If I don't see anything, I'm not throwing anything. So I gotta be in the right position, and knowing those mechanics, I don't think we could stress that more. And I don't think we do enough of that as teaching, as cadets, as young people coming through the system, of just really emphasizing. We're always talking about get your nose in that book, but let's get our nose in that mechanics book or on that film, and make sure that we are in the right spot to see what we're supposed to see.
Oh yeah. No, preparation, knowing where to be, and making adjustments, right? Making adjustments, being, like Andrew said, being coachable. And our clinic, we've been very fortunate that we've had a lot of people hired out of our camp. We started small. The first few years, maybe 2 or 3 college coordinators showed up, and now we've got guys coming from all over the country to evaluate talent at our camp. And you can get a list of officials, you can get football resumes that look great, but at the end of the day, like any job interview, nothing's guaranteed. You go to a camp, you're not guaranteed a job, right?
Yep.
No matter how much you pay. But at the end of the day, it's a job interview, right? How you dress. We have a dress code for our classroom time, and we have a social dinner at the end of camp Saturday night. We have dress code. Like, who's gonna follow the rules and read their emails and say, okay, I need to wear a polo and slacks, or am I going to wear shorts to this thing? It's all these, what we like to call the dead ball period, where you're interacting with prospective employers, not just on the field but off the field.
And it's the same even with your uniform. It's just as simple as, guys will ask, well, do I need to have a college uniform when I come to camp? No, you don't. But your high school uniform better be serviceable. The white better be white. The black better be black. It better not be bronzy colored. If it doesn't fit you, go get it tailored. If it's that big, go buy a new shirt. But when you come to camp, when and I think it was Walt Aronson who used to talk about this. When officials would walk out on the field, he would take one look at them, and if they looked the part, okay, he was still in it, and he was still willing to evaluate. But if you didn't look the part, that was it. Your evaluation was over. And I think
mean,
that says a
that's
lot.
game day too, right? Like as a coach, if we walk out and the refs don't even, I think about youth all the time. I understand as coaches, sometimes we even think that like our junior high, our middle school, our youth coaches are lesser than a varsity coach, and I hate that. But when you go to a youth game and the ref is like wearing an all white shirt or shirt's untucked, he just doesn't look the part. It's infuriating. Like he's not taking it serious. So on Friday night, if you see that, same thing, right? It's like we're not going to get good calls. It doesn't matter if it's for or against us. It's probably not right because the guy
You
can't
hit the nail on the head. It's your first impression. I always tell as soon as you walk on that field, they're going to look at you, especially the guy in the white hat. Do you look confident? Do you look happy to be there? I mean, when I was doing high school ball in Long Island, I got accused of giving a coach dirty looks, and I'm like, someone said, yeah, you don't look happy to be out there. Like you got to be happy to be out there. It's football.
Oh yeah,
I believe
it's business.
I believe
but
that's
you have to enjoy what you do.
No,
but
but
a little dig at you.
no, it's Scott and I have been best friends for too long now. No, it's part of what, but it's true. It's even us going up to the booth, and Scott and I, we joke, but I mean we go out of our way to look the part, because even going to the booth for the Big Ten, there's a crew on the field, but up in the booth, the coaches, broadcasts, and everybody, we are the representation of that crew. And when we go up there, it's a full suit, and it's a tie, and it's dress shoes, and you've got your fresh haircut that week, and you go in clean shaven. This is just I got something going on with my daughter for a I'm dancing. We won't get into the Nutcracker, but but my point being is, you go up there and you're representing not just yourself, not just your crew, not just Bill Carollo, but you're representing the entire Big Ten.
Yep.
And you better go up there and you better represent them the right way. You see the broadcast, you shake their hand, have any questions, how's your season been? It's great to see you guys. And then you go over to your booth and you get going. And every person you see, know that you're always under a microscope. So, look the part, act the part, be the part at all times. It's going to the field, on the field, not the field. It's all places.
And we have sessions about this at our camps, how to present yourself, how to respond to emails. We learned from early on from our former boss,
Yep.
Perry Havener, who's now the Southern Conference coordinator. The details, like if you're going to write an important email, run it by somebody first. We go over all that stuff. What does a football resume look like? Don't wear a college logo to a scrimmage, because it's little things like that maybe people have not heard yet. So that's the other play. We bring value to our attendees on the field, classroom, but also those things that those intangibles that people might not think of, that will prevent a coach like Daniel from saying, "What the heck are they doing here?" You want to be. I always tell guys I'm training, you want to be the guy when you walk onto that field or into that gym. You want Coach Daniel to say, Mike's here tonight. I got one less thing to worry about. Let's go play football, right? You want to be that guy, and that's part of what we teach.
It's a great compliment when my crew walks out to the field and the coaches see us and they're like, "Oh, good, we got these guys today. Okay, we're going to get a fair shake." So,
that's what you want.
Good, bad, and different. I mean, some of them still don't like a call that we make or don't make, but they know that we're going to at least call the game as we see it. Hopefully, it doesn't matter who we know. And my white hat and myself, I know Daniel and I have talked about this. We both know people throughout the state, and when we walk onto the game field, we probably know one of the head coaches. I coached for 20 plus years. He's been involved in school systems for 20 plus years. We probably know the head coaches for both schools pretty well, that we can go over to him and say, "Hey, Daniel has a wife, has the kids," and stuff like that. But come that whistle, all right, we're going to officiate the game as honestly as we can. And we're going to carry ourselves in a professional manner. And I think I love hearing that you guys talk about that and that you emphasize it, because
We have a whole
Again,
session on it.
Yep.
The after hours at the clinics is where I pick up a lot of different things, and I'm sure you guys can see it too. Demeanor, mannerisms, how are they holding themselves in that? Listen, I can go to a bar and have a good time and have a couple of drinks and talk football with people, but am I going to be that loud, obnoxious, drunk? Is that the guy that I want to have?
I almost said that's me. I'm loud. We try not to go over the top on the drinking part, but
There you go.
I'll be loud and proud.
You're still in a professional environment at those clinics and have fun. Absolutely. I'm not trying to be the killjoy with it, but you kind of get to see a background of who that person might really be. And that opens up some eyes. Like, oh, okay. That's how that person acts. How are they going to act in a national championship game? How are they going to act in a state playoff game?
Throw a shoe.
They might throw a shoe. You're right.
Jeez.
I remember that.
Well, and it's about that. Are they principled enough? So when the big boss is around, that's how they act. But when he or she is not around, what happens then? Are they going to get loosey goosey, and do they become a liability? And it's unfortunate. And I think in this day and age, and just in general, social media is a demon. And when it comes to officiating, people need to stay off of it, period, if you're an official, in the sense of if you go to and I have very limited social media, it's private, but if you go to it and you're one of my friends on there, you don't know that I work football. You don't have a clue. So even at my job that I work at, they don't know I work football. And when they hear about it, they're like, wait, you do what on the weekends? Oh yeah, I referee college football. Like, there's no freaking way that you do that. Well, yeah, that's what I do. But keep a low profile, because that low profile it will help you survive a lot longer, because once somebody knows that you're a football official, or they know that you have social media, and they see you somewhere where you maybe you're allowed to be there and it's not a big deal, but they take a picture that's an awkward picture and they post it and that goes viral, good luck. Because your boss is looking at it going, I got 43 people that are vying for your position. They want your position right now. You're creating a headache. Have a good day. Next one up, please.
Yep.
Well, Andrew, I got to say now that I'm sitting here drinking a beer out of my logo, with my shirt on, with my logo behind me, posting this on social media. Where the heck were you 2 years ago when I started this thing? I never would have done it.
You're also not working a game tonight, so
This is true. Yeah, well, yes.
Scott has a service just for $10.99 a month. He will monitor. No.
Mike, I'm not sure what happened, but I got kicked off, and I tried it 3 times, and I thought before I struck out, I'd give it one more time, and it seems to be back, but I'm not sure what happened.
Back and better than ever. So yeah, we were just kind of talking about the professionalism at the clinics and how you hold yourself, and Scott and Andrew were talking about the dress code and stuff like that. And Jim, I know at your clinic, this past year, I applied to possibly be a part of Jim's association. So part of it was after the clinic was over, we went into another room and kind of had an impromptu interview session and just questions and answers. And it was a group type of setting. But again, it's where you can kind of pick up a vibe on people on if you want them to be representing your association, your profession, and different things like that. So it's just how you carry yourself in all walks of life. I'm hoping that I'm carrying myself with this podcast and trying to grow the officiating mindset out there. But it is something that, yeah, I am scrutinized for what I'm doing right now, because people do see me out there and know me. But I'm hoping that I'm upholding when I'm on the field what I'm preaching as I'm doing it on the podcast.
Well, the fact is that everything we do matters. Okay, every play matters in a game. Every just the way, like you said, carry yourself. I apologize for, I don't know what happened, but the one thing I was hoping to get out there, and maybe Scott and Andrew mentioned it, don't know, but I'm a firm believer, as a former high school teacher, that the best way to engage everybody at the start of the clinic is with video. Okay, that's always number one. We've learned that over the years, and I just think that it gets everybody engaged. And last year, Mike might recall, I think, Mike, if my memory serves, last year was the first of our 20 or 21 that you've come to. And I started out, folks, with the single worst play ever officiated in football history. That's what I started. And it certainly was not Andrew. That's totally not true. But and part of the reason, frankly, is when our applicants, like Mike, okay, we've had 51, 39, and 42 applicants the last 3 years when nobody can find officials. I think that's a total myth. I think that's people taking the easy way out, assigners, ADs. Well, there's nobody to fish, so you get what you get. I think that's all bullshit, frankly. But at any rate, I started out showing a play in a playoff game last year, and frankly, that single play led to the NCAA firing the person who had the job for 11 years that I now hold. And there were so many things to it, but that was, you get people's attention, and those people like Mike who are applicants, okay, I want them to understand right from the get-go, this is not high school football. I don't mean that derogatorily. I don't mean it negatively. I mean it factually. And you have to understand that accountability is going to count, or you're not going to last a second in a well-run college organization. That's just the reality of it. So it's a little bit of a shock. Again, it is intentionally done that way. And when the thing went out on me, for this year's clinic, I already have right now 27 plays from the first 4 rounds picked out on a thumb drive that we will start our clinic with. We won't show all 27 at once. Some really good officiating, some and some this. If you do this, you're not going to be here too long. So it's old school. I was a long-time high school teacher, basketball coach, and I thought that to get people's attention, it was okay to kind of say from the get-go, I don't want to mislead you. I want you to know what the expectations are. And Mike was kind enough to pull it up. We're still working on our keynote speaker. I talked to some guys, and I should know by early January. But thank you, Mike, for that little promo there. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to have the links to both the clinics on all the different websites and stuff like that. So this here is, you could see the Centennial Conference, the Landmark Conference. So you can go to, again, I'll have the link there, but you can see right on there, there's a lot of good information about the clinic, pictures. I'm in a couple of those pictures, so you can kind of skip past those ones because, God, I am made for radio. But you got this clinic here, and let me pull up the second clinic. And Jim, if you just want to give the name of the website where people can find your clinic, and then Scott and Andrew, I'll let you guys shout out your clinic too. So Jim, your clinic is...
The website is, the first 2 letters are CC, as in CC Sabathia, but ccfootballofficials.com. And there's a lot of information, like Mike said, that's where you can register. You'll see the agenda, past photos, past speakers, kind of a history, if you will. So ccfootballofficials.com.
And Scott and Andrew, if you want to give your website a plug here.
Yeah, so it's a www.fifoa.org, the Florida Intercollegiate Football Officials Association. And we've made everything now where you can do it through the website. A couple of the sponsors we've worked with in the past, and some of the other camps that we work with. And
we got to add Whistle Talk to our.
Amen. So we like to spotlight all of our clinicians, our special guests we have coming each year, and where they're coming from, what they're doing. There's at the bottom even there's a slideshow of the pictures, and just so you know, when you get to camp, you can say, hey, that's Trey Blake, or that's Jay Earnhardt, or whoever it is. So you can walk up and say, hey, Mr. Earnhardt, congratulations on your bowl game. It's great that you worked the 2025 Sun Bowl and whatever it is that you're working. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. don't want to say we're dinosaurs in technology, because my main job is in technology, but people are more savvy with using their phone, and so we had to make this easier for people to access, and not just mail in a registration form like we did the first year.
There you go. And Daniel, I know you said you guys are working on your website for your clinic still. So once you get that out, just shoot it over to me, and I'll get that plugged out there too for you with the coaching side of it.
Absolutely. It'll be at joedanielfootball.com, and then he'll have something there. So if you're checking it right now, it won't be there. As we kind of close out December here, it will be posted eventually. But that's the 425 system we're going to be installing while we're there, and is Joe Daniel's 425. So feel free to dig through that and sign up for he's got guides, and there's always something free there from Joe. So check out that website, and that'll kind of get you started.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I've kind of kept you on here a little bit longer than I know you guys all schedules are a little bit different, but guys, I truly appreciate you coming on and talking about your clinics. And if anybody out there has any questions, hit me up, Mike D, the referee at gmail.com. And I can reach out to these gentlemen here and get any information back to them. But get better at what we do. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like let's all, we're in this for a reason, and hopefully the paycheck is not that reason. We're in this because we all love the game of football, and let's put the best product out there for not only the fans, because we're all sitting there going to watch a game on Sunday and Saturday, but let's get it for, more importantly, for the kids that are involved in the game, and do the best that we can, both on the coaching aspect and on the officiating aspect. And let those kids have the memories of the plays that they made, and not the calls that were made against them, or the calls that the coach didn't call for them, but the plays in the sport of football itself. So that's the ultimate goal here, just to get better at what we can do. So, gentlemen, once again, appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules. Everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year coming up. So appreciate that. And happy holidays all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
Good meeting you, Jim. Great
You
seeing you.
too, Coach. Pleasure.
Andrew.
Best to you.
Well, guys.
All right.
All right. Have a good